Ah, that's good.
Give me. Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring.
All right.
Mine.
Hey guys. So today we're going to be talking about 5 common myths associated with cocktails. That was our Carajillo, by the way. It's delicious, and check out the video below for that. Okay, so myth number 1 is the old-fashioned. If your idea of an old-fashioned includes club soda, an orange wheel, muddling, maraschino cherries, none of that is part of a classic old-fashioned. There's some funny videos out on YouTube about that already. That is part of the history of the old-fashioned in some sense, so it's not a myth that became part of it. That's all true, but it's definitely not part of an old-fashioned. To see what an old-fashioned is really supposed to be about, check out our video, link below. Myth number 2 is that absinthe is hallucinogenic or makes you see things. So this is not true. Absinthe is just like any other alcohol. If you drink a lot of it, it will get you drunk. So this comes from actually a resistance to imported liqueurs and just in general phobia about alcoholism, which is well warranted. Now, absinthe does contain an ingredient called wormwood. Does wormwood have psychotropic or hallucinogenic effects? Technically, yes. However, the amount of absinthe you would have to consume for that to become a problem for you would absolutely kill you. And far before that would happen, drinking a lot of absinthe, which can be about 50 or 60% alcohol by volume, or drinking a lot of really any alcohol will certainly make you, if not see things, but make you kind of loopy and drunk. So no, there's nothing in particular about absinthe. So if you've never tried it, don't fear it. It's fine. It's not LSD. Go out and have an absinthe. The third myth is about ice. You may have seen us use clear ice in our cocktails. We will be doing a video about how to do that, about how to create your own cubes and spheres and things like that. Although there's already, let's be honest, a million videos about that on YouTube too. One of the myths though is that that kind of cloudiness in ice comes from impurities or that you have to boil water to get rid of that. None of that's true. It's very simple actually. Most of the cloudiness in ice is just trapped air. When ice freezes, it doesn't, like the water doesn't freeze all at once. It normally freezes in a certain direction. And since ice cubes are normally exposed on top and have, walls on the outside, the freezing kind of happens downward. This is a concept called directional freezing. So what happens is the top of your ice will freeze. You can actually see this very easily. If you put an ice cube in the freezer, fill it up with water, and take it out after half an hour or an hour, you will see a little bit of ice. The surface is frozen on top, but there's still water underneath. Well, as that process continues, right, it's going to freeze, and there is air trapped in water. And so as that process continues, that trapped air has nowhere to go. And so it's stuck and it forms little air bubbles in the ice. So that's why, actually, if you look at an ice cube, even out of like an ice cube tray, it'll be clear maybe on the very top and then have most of the cloudiness near the bottom. So you can use that to your advantage to make clear ice by kind of cutting that off or stopping that process. There's different ways to do it. We will cover them in another video, but there's that myth debunked. Myth number 4. Beer before liquor, never been sicker. If you've heard this before, it refers to the idea that the order in which you mix things, if you're gonna mix them, so if you have some beer and then you have a shot or a cocktail, will give you a worse hangover or make you drunk more quickly. Also, people have the idea of you shouldn't mix things like, okay, today's a gin night, today's a tequila night, let me only drink that. The fact is there's no scientific evidence at all to support that the order in which you drink things or mixing things has any impact at all. Intoxication really is just a matter of how much alcohol you're drinking, how fast you're drinking it, the rate, you as a person, so how much mass do you have, as well as genetic and also gender differences, whether you've eaten anything before, things like that. So it's really just kind of an integral, the area under the curve of how much alcohol you've had. So mixing between tequila and gin is not going to be any worse. The only reason that this kind of has any ground or the way this caught on is because if you are mixing, it probably means you're drinking more than one thing by definition, and you might be drinking more quickly. So as always, we here certainly advocate take your time, drink responsibly, mixing is fine, just don't drink too much. And the last myth here today is Irish coffee. Some people have the idea that Irish coffee uses Irish cream, commonly Bailey's or other brands, and that's actually not true. You can certainly do that. If you like Irish coffee with Irish cream, no one's stopping you. But a traditional Irish coffee doesn't have that, actually. It's really just Irish whiskey, coffee, and sugar. That's about it, really. So to see how to make a really great Irish coffee, actually, see our next video, link below. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next time. Cheers.